In this video, we're going to show more examples on how inference can be applied. We're also going to be using the techniques that we have learned in the previous video, such as literary algorithm, in making inferences. So, before we proceed with an actual article or passage, let's have a recap first. So, inference, as we know, is getting conclusion based on observations. And so, we have introduced in the previous video literary algorithm, which is in a way like a step-by-step procedure on how to get it done. Here, I'm going to show you one way to do that, and that is through an inferring graphic organizer. So as you notice in this organizer, we actually have three important parts. The first one is the text, followed by schema, and then followed by inference. So let's just make this bigger so that you can see. Alright. So this is algorithm itself. The text schema can, when combined, can actually become your inference. So the text is where you put the actual text. The schema, on the other hand, is the things that you already know. Okay? Things that can give you more idea on what's going on. And then the inference will be the results of the combination of your text. So let's show you some examples. So the text says Jake smiled, and then the schema will be when someone smiles, they are happy or excited. So if a person smiled, we all know that it means happiness or excitement. So if you're going to combine that he smiled and the thing that you already know, which means that smiling means happiness, then you can infer that Jake must be excited. Here's another example. If the text says we have a green box, red bow decorated, okay, we can actually make assumption based on what we already know. We can associate green and red for Christmas colors, and then Christmas trees are also decorated. And so we can infer that the green box, red bow decorated is actually a Christmas gift. And the last example is we have seat and handlebars. We all know that a bike has seat and a handlebar. So that means that the gift itself is a bike. By putting them together, we can know that Jake smiled because Jake received a Christmas gift, and that Christmas gift is a bike. So see, making inferences is not really very hard, but it's important that our background knowledge is actually wide in order for us to make inferences. Otherwise, if let's say we don't know that smiling means happiness, then we cannot assume that Jake is excited or happy. Here's another example that we can use by looking at an article from CNN. This article was published July 20th, and it's about the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So it says here that Tokyo 2020 boss is not ruling out a last-minute cancellation of the Olympic Games. Okay, which means it's still a possibility for the Olympic Games to be cancelled due to the pandemic. So we will try to apply the organizer in order to make inference. So we're going to use the text, and then we're going to assume based on the schema what we already know, and then we will then make an inference. So this is the actual literary algorithm, a technical approach that we are going to apply. Okay, here's a very simple example. The first sentence says that Tokyo 2020 CEO Toshiro Muto isn't ruling out a last-minute cancellation of the Olympic Games amid rising COVID-19 cases. Just by reading this, we actually know that COVID-19 is deadly. We know that if you are contracted by the virus, there's a possibility for you to be very sick or to die. And so, just by combining this text and the schema that COVID-19 is dangerous, we can assume that a cancellation of the Olympic Games is actually a possibility. Here's another example. As these meetings will continue until the day before the opening ceremony, we are not yet able to provide a detailed estimate of the number of participants. We know that the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games is very important because this is where all the countries will be together. And so we can infer that many countries are still unable to send participants for the Olympic Games. And last example will be this one. May these Tokyo 2020 Olympics be a source of hope and unity to achieve vaccine equity and end the pandemic. Tweeted Tedros, who is usually known by his first name. By reading the end of the pandemic, we have the schema that the pandemic is not over yet and we are in the process of ending it. And so we can infer that the Olympics is being used as a way to end the pandemic through unity and through encouraging people to get the vaccine. So I hope you learned something from this video. Please don't forget to ask questions if you have any. So again, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.